Unresolved problem segment tonight, more criticism of how the Bush administration is waging the war on terror. As you may know, Guantanamo Bay is a big target. Those who believe that captured terror suspects should have a clear legal proceeding rather than be put in a prisoner of war camp. Former President Jimmy Carter is leading the charge to close Guantanamo and said this about the detainees on CNN.
They've never been given a right to hear the charges against them. They've never had legal counsel. They've not been permitted to meet with their families. They've been held incommunicado. And all the evidence is that many of them have been psychologically and physically tortured.
But what evidence is that? How does Carter know they've been tortured? Where is the evidence? The CNN interviewer didn't ask. At this point, all the torture accusations are coming from so-called human rights organizations that believe the United States is generally at fault in the terror war. Joining us now from Washington, Sergeant Major retired Stephen Greer, former Green Beret, and current fellow at the National Defense Council, who's been down to Guantanamo Bay twice. You know, I was down there, Sergeant Major, about 3 years ago. But I have to say, quite honestly, that, you know, the Army didn't let me roam around and talk to anybody. Even if they had, I don't think I would have gotten a straight story. They just showed me what the facility was and what their standard procedure was. So I don't know whether they're beating the hell out of these guys or abusing them. Do you?
Yeah, I certainly do know that they're not doing that. Number one, the United States government doesn't condone torture, nor does the Department of Defense utilize torture to gain information, critical intelligence information from the detainees. That's not the status that we use. That's not the method of operation we use. We use a rapport-building strategy where we make these detainees feel comfortable, and you start to build this rapport so you can gain information.
Then why would Jimmy Carter say that they're being tortured psychologically and physically? Why would a former president of the United States say that?
Well, I think the former president is misinformed. I think whoever has advised him, I think they're all misinformed. I think anybody who wants to criticize what goes on down in Guantanamo, they need to go down there and visit themselves and talk to the guards and talk to the intelligence analysts, those who are down there doing yeoman's work to try to piece together the al-Qaeda
Okay, but why would we believe, though, the U.S. military, which has a huge stake in saying that we do treat these people well and we don't abuse them, you know, they're not going to come out and tell you or me or anybody else that there's anything untoward going down in Guantanamo Bay. You know that. I mean, the military is going to standardize what the Defense Department line is, that we're giving these people their human rights even though we are incarcerating them.
Well, you're right, Bill, and it boils down to this. What do the American people believe? Do you believe, in fact, that the Department of Defense condones torture and thus is torturing those 490 detainees who are still there? Or do you think they're treating them humanely and with respect?
Do I think, what do I think? I think they're being treated all right. I don't think they're being abused. I don't believe the left-wing human rights groups. I think they have an agenda. I don't believe President Carter. I don't think he knows what he's talking about. That's what I believe. But I can't prove it. And the prevailing wisdom that the press is drumming is that we, the United States, abuse these people. And I don't know how you and I are on the same side. I don't know how we're going to convince the other people that we're right.
Well, I think at some point you have to decide that maybe those folks don't want to be convinced. I think they want to continue to remain misinformed, and they have other agendas. The bottom line is that those detainees are being treated with greater care and greater compassion than any detainee or any prisoner in the history of warfare.
Now, do you believe that the military tribunals, which is up and running, I mean, the tribunals are there, but they've only tried 11 of the 400 and whatever you'd cited, you know, in almost now 4.5 years. So we got 4.5 years, only 11 military tribunals. And I know there's a review process to keep, you know, that they keep looking at these guys, what they're telling them, or they have released some. But why just 11 trials? Why not more?
Well, the evidentiary procedures and the threshold of evidence required to take someone to criminal court and try them for crimes against the United States government are so high in these cases. It's very difficult to obtain forensic evidence of a terrorist, such as fingerprints, blood samples, hair samples, etc., when you capture these guys on the battlefield. And then you bring them all the way back to Guantanamo. And that's why there's only been a handful or so, there are 11 or so, who are actually being tried or will go to a war tribunal. The other folks...
Go ahead.
Yeah, the other folks, the 490, they've all gone through a combatant status review tribunal to determine their status as enemy combatants, whether they still pose a threat or they don't pose a threat.
Do you believe that these other ones, who are, if you were in a criminal case, they'd be being held as material witnesses? if we were in a civilian court. We're not. The ACLU doesn't understand that, but this is a war. This is not a criminal proceeding. But they're being held as primarily material witnesses because the U.S. government has come to the conclusion that they have information that we need, or that if we release them, they're going to attack us again. That's the status. And as you said, that's reviewed time and time again. But 11 out of 500 seems to be a very low number at this juncture. So the question becomes, do these people have a right to ever have a military court review their proceeding, ever?
Well, I think they do, and I think they obviously do with the Combatant Status Review Tribunal and the Administrative Review Board. So that's two procedures, unprecedented in the history of warfare and detention facilities, that we allow the detainees to come forward and state their case and make a case for their either transfer to their origin state of nation, or origin nation state, or complete release.
All right, so but what this comes down to, Sergeant Major, is trust in the government. And a lot of people in America don't have it. They don't trust the Bush administration. Isn't that what it comes down to?
Well, it does trust that, and we need to go back to 9/11 and the 3,000 people who lost their lives that day, and realize that these 490 people, if they're out there, they're coming after us all. All
right, Sergeant, thanks very much. We appreciate it. Plenty more As a Factor continues from L.A. Hollywood's gay agenda might be an advantage in the Academy Awards this year. Right back with it.
What's big in home design? Showing you have great style without spending a lot. Great design can simplify. It's all about making it your own.